You are now listening to Femme podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme. Hello, Femme fam. Thank you, as always, for listening. We have another fantastic guest for you today.
Yes, today we have Senor Michael Robayo, all the way from New York City, the Bronx. Woo woo! We are so excited to have you today, Michael. How's it going?
It's going really well. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
First of all, I wanted to just say I love your podcast. I listen to it all the time.
Thank you.
It's the best.
So nice. Oh my gosh. We actually connected over the gram, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yes,
we did a little, hey, what's up? I think you had actually commented on our podcast, and you were one of the first people to give us feedback, and we do greatly appreciate that, because this is how we keep the community growing, finding awesome guests like you, you're also Mr. Michael is a founder and director of Site B Studios, y'all. It is a production company based in the Bronx, correct? In New York?
That's correct.
And
we're based in the Bronx, yeah.
Amazing. And so had you not reached out, we wouldn't have had this interaction and have you on today. So we're super excited.
Yes.
And
awesome.
Tell us, Michael.
Yeah, just give us a little lowdown on who you are, what you do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a filmmaker, obviously. I'm based in the Bronx, but we work all around New York City. And pretty much I started as a freelancer, and then in the last couple of years, maybe the last 4 or 5 years, I put together a team of filmmakers, mainly my friends, and one of them is my cousin. And now we have a little production company that we're just continuing to build and do more work and expand, and that's pretty much our goal, is just to keep expanding, connecting with other filmmakers, and just keep making better work and just getting better at what we do. So that's pretty much kind of like the gist of what I do and what my company does as well.
I love that you put a team together too, because I mean, me and Carolina, obviously we have people that we've worked with before and want to work with again and stuff, but really essentially for the production company, it's just the two of us. And we've been talking about that, we really need to build our team of people we want to always work with. So I'd love to hear that you've done that and you've been successful with it.
And I think something,
absolutely.
Michael, you had mentioned previously in one of our little chats was that's not something that just happens overnight, right? Like something for our audience to be aware of, finding the right, core team members. Like how has that been your experience? I mean, it sounds like you have known these guys, either through blood or like the friendships. Were they just newly friendships or people you've known for years? Like, who are these people that you got to form this team with? Because it's a huge deal.
It is a huge deal, and it's I was kind of lucky enough to
there's the luck.
yeah
always plays into it.
Exactly. I was lucky enough to find friends that had similar interests.
I think that's huge,
because we've been friends for years now, and it's just we got, I guess that's why we connected as friends, because we had the similar interests. So it just built from there, and then little by little we just we learned together. You know what I mean? When we first met, we weren't experts at all, so that also helped to kind of keep the connection there. And then we just kept working on projects together. Sometimes we would do things on our own, and sometimes we would bring each other on our own projects. And then from there, it's just started to kind of continue and build. And so I was lucky enough to have people already that were close friends, but were also collaborators, in filmmaking. And then eventually it just, that's what you work up to, working together, getting shorthand so you can work faster. And then when it came time to build build a team and a company, they were already there. So it's like I felt like I lucked out, but it's just always good to kind of keep people around you that kind of have similar interests, so you guys can build a real connection. So that's kind of how it happened. I didn't have to go outsourcing That's something that we're gonna probably do now that we have this
Mm-hmm.
core team. Try to get other people that can come in, and then that'll have, you know, a different perspective, new ideas, and that work well with us. So that's
Mhm.
something that we can now start doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like that's really the smart way to do it. I mean, I don't regret that we just, dove in, just the two of us or anything like that. But I feel like
Yeah.
building your team first and like really knowing, that you work well with these people and you all want to do the same thing, and then like forming the company and, really like going professional with it once you've got that already built is probably the smart way to do
Right.
it.
But
Definitely,
at the same
definitely.
time, we started out again in a place of the unknown
Right.
and kind of grew into, knowing where we want to thrive
Hmm.
and like build. And that's something that's really cool that you guys were all in that same playing field and then just like built it up
Yeah.
from there.
Right.
So,
Right.
Michael, tell
Exactly.
us what's your sweet spot in all of this? Like, what is the magic sauce for you? Where do you like to thrive? Like,
Yeah,
what?
because you guys
Yeah,
do a lot of different stuff, right? I mean, you've done
yeah.
like what, docs, narratives, shorts, music videos, like all kinds of stuff. So what's your favorite? Where do you guys want to go?
Yeah. I mean, we have done a lot. And I feel like that helps us to kind of learn faster in a way, because we're
For sure.
jumping into these different like genres, and we're using, you know, stuff we've learned from one type of film to the other. I think we originally started off, I think all of us, as we just wanted to make films, like
Hmm.
feature films, you know. But as the times changed, as you know, social media came in, we started to see that we can actually delve into other stuff, like doing like shorter form content,
Mm-hmm.
music videos, all that stuff. So it's been sort of like this wave of just just getting different projects and working on different things. And I think we're starting to go back to kind of the beginning. We want to go back to doing kind of more narrative stuff,
Hmm.
short films, and then eventually do feature films. And I feel like now that we have a company that we can kind of branch out and do different things, we have that foundation to kind of start doing the things that we really want to do.
Hmm.
For me, like I love writing as well. I think writing was the first thing I ever really started to do, and then
Okay.
it just sort of evolved into like filmmaking, directing, editing. I feel like editing is also writing,
Hmm.
just visually. So
Yeah.
then it's pretty much now we want to try to get back into doing more narrative stuff. We shot a short film this past summer, that we collaborated with another production company. So we want to try to do that more, and then just write our own original stuff, and then build a team outside of us. You know, get DPs that really know what they're doing, sound engineers, and then make films. We
Hmm.
really want to make feature films. That's eventually what we want to
That's
do.
gotcha.
But
Yeah.
we like that we were able to kind of like go into these other areas as well.
Oh yeah, you learned again, like you said, you like learn all the different styles, and that just only makes you a better filmmaker, writer, shooter, editor, like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
all the above, because
Yeah.
you get you get to, and they are really different.
Yeah.
There is so much to learn and grow. Something you had mentioned before too, as far as, and I keep going back to this because I think this is so unique and cool, is that you would like to focus also on narratives around the Bronx and the how that borough affects the community and the communities surrounding it. I thought that was like so unique and different. Is there something you want to speak to that about, or have you made something yet on it? Because I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like we all grew up here. We were born and raised here. The only one of us that one of us doesn't live here anymore. He moved away, but he's still in the New York area.
Hmm.
But so when growing up, like we never um there was never sort of like this a foundation as far as like other filmmakers, because
It's
it just
not
wasn't a
there.
thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you didn't find other like filmmakers in the Bronx, so it was like, so now I feel like that's part of the thing that drives us, is to sort of like get ourselves out there, and not like exploit it, but like
Hmm.
just let people know that like we do come from here, and there is the possibility that people can be artists and filmmakers and, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
writers and cinematographers and all that stuff. And there is more of that happening now with kind of like the younger generation, especially in this area. So
Mm-hmm.
that's good to see. But
Yeah.
for us, that's sort of our foundation. So we definitely want to bring it out in our work,
Hmm.
and we're doing these documentary series on Bronx artists,
Hmm.
and how the main thrust of it is how they're influenced by the Bronx itself, how their work is influenced by their surroundings. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and that's something that's I see in a lot of artists in the Bronx, is that they use it as their sort of like fuel, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, for their work. So that's one project that we're working on, and we're almost complete. We have about 2 or 3 docs that we're finishing up on that, and it's going to be a little series and just sort of like, you know,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that
showing the
is
Bronx and
so
showing
cool.
what
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities are as far as like artists, here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I can like, yeah, where you from, like how you grow up, the people you interact with, like that should influence your art, your writing, your the style. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's amazing. And the fact that you guys can lead the way to bring that into, the culture of that city, that
That-
borough.
Hmm.
And like I love that, yeah, you can influence the younger crowd too, like make stuff. Like it is great that we have so many resources now to do that.
Hmm.
So you just need that one like person to kind of keep paving the path,
And especially New York, like I love that, New York has always been a hub for entertainment. There's already
Yeah.
always already like been great artists all throughout New York City, but like it's never been like an quote unquote independent film kind of place. Like LA was always where people, filmmakers could go and like do their own
Mm-hmm.
stuff for cheap or whatever. But like those people were always there in New York, and I'm so happy that you are now like showing the world like, hey, we're here, we make cool shit, like,
Yeah.
so I think that's amazing, first of all. And second of
uh,
all, I think it's awesome that you're really showing off the Bronx specifically. Like, New Yorkers are so proud to be New Yorkers no matter what borough where you're from, and it's such a cool thing to like really specifically show off, the personality that is the Bronx and the people that live there and how it all affects each other,
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, we can show that, you can do good work. You can be influenced by like, you know films, and you can be influenced by, because the Bronx is really known for like rap music, like that's where
Hmm.
it originated from and all that. But it's like that's cool, but it's like there can be more, you know what I mean?
There's
It
more
just
Yeah,
than
doesn't have
just
to be
that.
that. And
Yeah.
totally.
I feel like for me growing up, like I was into cinema and movies and music as well. But it's like it can happen. You can be influenced by that, and then you can grow and work from that, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, and create your own, if you want to be a solo artist, company. And you can actually affect others as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what it's all about
Well,
when
let
it
us
comes to
know
that.
when that doc is out because I want to see it.
I know. Let's get
Yeah,
that shit on
absolutely.
Netflix.
Let's do it. That
That's
is,
what we're hoping for. We're hoping for we can get it out there, Amazon Prime,
Yeah,
Netflix, something,
yeah.
so it's, we're working towards that.
absolutely.
So
I want to take it back a little. You're, I think, the first filmmaker that we've met that stemmed from writing specifically.
Hmm.
Like how
oh
young,
really?
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of them, they kind of, everyone has their own unique
Totally.
trajectory, actually. But
But I
yes, I
think you're
think
right.
you are our first writer pal, like versus like we went to film school or we kind of did some sort of editing and then
Editing or directing, I feel like
direct.
are usually
Yeah,
like the big ones that people want to start with. But
right.
yeah.
That's
So
true. That's very true.
and like yeah, so I love the storytelling aspect behind that specifically. So when did you like start writing and did you then go to film school from there? What was that transition like?
I think I remember starting to write really early on, like early grammar school, like
Hmm.
maybe I was in maybe second or third grade. And I remember that was actually something that I wanted to do. I wanted to like write books or short stories or something like that. So it was something that I kind of, that was the first thing that I knew that I could do kind of well,
Hmm.
you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in a way. but like I felt, but movies were always like just at the top of the list for me. So eventually, as I started to get older, I had a lot of different interests, but movies was always going to be the thing that was going to be kind of at the top. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just little by little, I started to see that, oh, I can actually just, instead of writing like short stories or a novel or something like that, I can just write a script.
Yeah.
So then I kind of like just put those two things together, and then I kind of saw it as a kind of an upper hand to be able to like, you can write your own story and then just go out and film it rather than having to find the right story
Mm-hmm.
for you. You know what I mean? So it just, that's how it sort of like um kind of went up. That's how it went forward. It was just like writing and then combining it with filmmaking, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's sort of like the sweet spot that I've kind of been at. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just makes it easier to create your own kind
Right.
of projects and content when you can
Right.
write something. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Instead of waiting for the script to come to you, like you
Right.
were saying.
Right.
It's just
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
yeah, no, I feel one on one with you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I like because Tess and I actually did for a while too read a bunch of scripts when we were thinking about doing like a horror film. And like you always run into limitations or restrictions, or it's just not your style,
Mm-hmm.
or like, and you could, spell it out however you want, to the world. But at the end of the day, there's something about finding your own unique story. And it's not for everyone, but for me, like
Yeah.
I resonate with that. Like I just I need to do it. I need to
Yeah.
like write it and create it. And that's why we have
That's
the
good. That's
production
it. Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally vibe with that.
And I love what you said earlier too about editing is storytelling like visually, is
Yes.
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
visually. Yeah. Like I think
It's
that's such a, yeah,
huge.
it's so true.
It's so much the whole story,
Definitely.
and the
That's how I see it. I
pacing.
see it
Yeah.
as that. Like when I'm in the editing room, it's like I'm rewriting
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
the script again, and it's
Because there's also those little
that's
moments that you were like you captured visually that you couldn't maybe put to words in the script too,
Mm-hmm.
that you're like, oh, I
right.
found this moment and
Yeah,
now I'm gonna
surprises that, end
yeah.
up end up getting caught on
Exactly.
camera. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. You find those little moments that you weren't thinking about, but you caught it visually and then you put it in there, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just, it creates a whole different feeling. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like it's definitely another form of writing.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. And where just speak to us a little bit, just a little bit about maybe networking in New York, or what the film community is like that, because we're here in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and like for any of our East Coast listeners, is there like, do you feel like there's a community there that you can, reach out to, or how have you been able to continue to find work and bond? Just thought, since that is now a really huge, workplace for film
Mm-hmm.
specific, like how has it been,
Right.
your experience over there, because I cannot speak to it.
No, right. It's actually over the last like 5 to 10 years, it's really grown. Like I've noticed that you can really find a lot of people that are in the filmmaking, whether it's independent filmmaking or higher end,
Mm-hmm.
all around New York City. The way I go about it is I really try to utilize social media as much as I can, and
Love that.
I feel like for me that's the way I've been connecting the most is just through, like, for instance, Instagram, just DMing people,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And just people who are in the same area, and then just like making a connection, just, just through the app. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually something will come from that, like a
Totally.
project comes up, and then that person might pop into my mind, and then I'll be like, hey, you want to work on this? And it
Hmm.
always usually comes to fruition that way.
Mm-hmm.
But in New York City, I'm definitely seeing uh, it's much easier to make connections, and it's much easier to find people that are working in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Good.
I don't know exactly how it is in LA. I'm sure it's much bigger. You know what I mean? But it's getting to that point where New York is sort of like on getting to that same level.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's how I feel. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. that's usually how I go
good.
about it.
Utilize the gram, you guys.
Yeah,
Now we
definitely.
got you in New York, you got us in LA. It's
Yeah.
a
Yes.
beautiful thing that we have here. So I think that was a really smart approach, especially, I think continuing the conversation, checking in on the work, because especially
Yeah.
if you value someone's work, like how hard is it to like just acknowledge it, and send a quick message like, saw your work, dude, keep it up. That little stuff, it does, like you said, you keep those people in your
Mhm.
mind when you're like,
Yeah.
they're actually involved, it's not just some like for like.
Yeah.
Cute. No, it's like
Like you've
I've
actually had a
actually,
conversation with the people. Yeah.
yeah, and making that a relationship,
Mhm.
which you can totally do now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I think
That's what I
that's,
mean. Yeah. You
yeah.
have to really utilize that. And then, like you said, like just not, I try to force myself a lot to just keep commenting. And even
Mhm.
if that person doesn't respond right away, or maybe they don't at all, just, it's
Yeah.
all right. Just to, if you do it first, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because eventually you'll, something will happen, something will come out of it.
Yeah, the
So
worst is they don't say
yeah,
anything. That's the
Exactly.
if they don't
worst.
say anything,
Ooh,
if they don't say anything,
okay.
that's it. You
That's
just
it.
move on, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly. I love that. So thank you for sharing that.
no, of course.
I think lastly, maybe you want to speak to anything that inspires you as a filmmaker. It could be a book, a movie, a podcast. Like, what do you do to keep the creative juices flowing?
Um, I, you know, a lot of different things. Definitely, it's funny. Podcasts have become something that I really cling on to when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to like inspiration. For instance, like your podcast, I really love it because it's like, it's really, and it's kind of upcoming filmmaker
Mhm.
type of place where you can talk about like,
This whole process.
yeah, the
Yeah.
process,
Exactly.
and that you're still growing, which is what we're still growing as well. So
Mhm.
it's just having that connection is really
Yeah.
good, because there's some podcasts that they're already on a certain level, so they're
Right.
talking about kind of things you can relate to, but not necessarily like how it is kind of
Yeah.
like in a day-to-day
Yeah.
aspect. So I definitely cling on to podcasts. Recently I listened to them a lot just to get the knowledge, and then also like inspiration, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean, to just keep going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not, it's
um
like you're not the only one. We're all
yeah,
going through
Yeah.
it. It's nice. I totally agree with
definitely.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's like, I just try to, you know watch. I still watch a lot of movies, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
obviously. Sometimes I can't watch as many as I want, so I get inspiration from that. But it's just like, especially with the internet and YouTube, you can see a lot of people's work and what's going
Yeah.
on. So it's like there's different ways to get inspiration. But those are just some of a few. I'm still a
Totally.
big film guy, so I watch a lot of stuff to kind of get inspired and get ideas, and yeah, that's kind of how I go about it.
That's
Good. I'm
awesome.
always a little weirded out by the filmmakers who don't watch
Yeah.
movies. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
understand.
So what, you've seen 5 movies and now you want to make your own? Like, no, you got to watch them.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like,
keep learning, keep being inspired. Yeah,
yeah, and grow from that.
totally. Well, let our listeners know where they can find you. Like, what's your Instagram handle, since that's how we found you. But if you have, website, anything like that you
Yeah,
want to
that
share with all of our
pimp
listeners.
yourself out.
yeah. Our website is sitebstudios.com. It's
Mhm.
pretty simple. And our Instagram is at siteb_studios, and our Twitter is the same.
Okay.
And then you can find all our links on our main website. You can
Mhm.
find it on the bottom. YouTube. We also have Vimeo. Um, we're all out there, and all social media.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's pretty much the easiest way you can find us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We loved talking to you, and this was
Yes,
awesome and
this was so
inspirational. Yeah.
awesome. I am so excited for our listeners to hear all about it and you and your work. And yes, keep us posted because we'll blast it out there for everyone to know what you're doing and how's it
Oh, thanks.
going.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on this awesome podcast.
Absolutely.
Aw.
And thanks for
It's an
listening.
honor.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
thank you, Mike.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.